Welcome to Return on Insights, the show where candid conversations with bold founders and leaders spark actionable insights for your business. I'm David Lindover.
And I'm Erin Abatangelo. Each week, we pull back the curtain with leaders who are scaling teams and shaping the future, sharing the insights that create impact far beyond the bottom line.
Discover how high-performing companies build enduring cultures, inspire teams to think bigger, and turn vision into action. If you see storytelling as your strategic advantage, you're in the right place. Welcome to Return on Insights podcast, where we uncover the innovations in leadership shaping the future of business and technology. I'm David Lindover, your host for today, when we zoom in on fintech solutions that empower international growth and financial efficiency. Our guest today is James Camilleri, co-founder and CEO of Fyorin, a fintech pioneer simplifying global treasury and financial operations for midsize companies. With a strong track record scaling businesses worldwide, James shares his fresh insights on how fintech navigates trust building, growth challenges, and market complexity. Welcome, James.
Thank you, David, for having me.
Thank you for joining. I'm really interested in this topic. Excited to ask you some questions. First one is, how does Fyorin address the pain points of fragmented international financial infrastructure?
Yes. So if you look at the current landscape today for any business, especially if they are operating internationally, what you find out is that they are dealing with multiple banks, right, or multiple financial institutions. Primarily, they are dealing with their local bank, but then let's say, a business is doing some transactions outside of the US. Maybe they have an international bank that they deal with. Maybe they're also dealing with an expense management platform, so on and so forth. Now, what's the challenge with that? The challenge is that from a finance perspective, you have financial data sitting across different financial institutions. So in order for you to have 360 degrees overview of your cash position, it's a nightmare. You need to go to each and every account, download the statements, import them to your ERP system. That's where most of the time is spent, also at the closing of the month, right? So what we've done is we solve these pain points. We've built up financial operations and a treasury management system, whereby from one platform, you can connect all your existing bank accounts. So you can have 360 degrees overview of your cash position from one unified platform. So imagine you are a group of companies or even one company where you can have all the dashboard from one. And besides that, we also connected with a global network of tier one financial institutions. So let's say you are a US business, you want to start operating in Europe, you want to start operating anywhere in the world. With one click of a button, we can give you a localized account, a localized card, maybe a localized also lending, without you having to go and source for the right banking partner. And all of this is happening with one compliance, one conversion. So essentially, we help businesses to focus on their core business and remove the complexity of international trading.
So what makes Fyorin's platform stand out from traditional banking platforms and fintech solutions that you're aware of?
Very good question. So essentially, if you look at any other financial institutions, typically they get licenses across different jurisdictions, right? So let's say they get a license in different jurisdictions, different states within the US, then they get a license in Europe, so on and so forth. Now, the challenge with that is that if you as a business, you have all your funds with one financial institution. So you want to diversify your funds, right? So let's say you have 1 million with one financial institution and I want another 1 million with another financial institution. Besides, there could also be some restriction because maybe bank A doesn't serve me in the country that I want to. So where Fyorin is different is that first and foremost, we are pure technology. So think of Visa and Mastercard, they are pure technology. But we're plugging in different banks that have different licenses in different jurisdictions. So that means that you as a business, you don't have to worry about okay, I need to do business in this country. I need to go and search for a particular bank to serve me. You just want to move money from point A to point B. So when we actually, let's say on board, you say okay, you want to do business in this country, we plug you in automatically with that particular bank. And you only have one relationship, right? So one commercial relationship. And it's also a way of how you can diversify your funds from one platform. So our global network, ease of doing business across different financial institutions is what essentially what sets us apart from the rest.
Good, I understand that. So can you share how partnerships with top banks help bolster your credibility, your company's credibility?
Definitely. I mean, in terms of when we started off, right? We back now 4 or 5 years ago, we're going to banks, we were asking them to come into our network, and it was very challenging. But the more clients we have, and we operate across different jurisdictions, different also industries, more banks are coming in, more tier 1 banks, tier 2, tier 1 banks are coming in. And of course, from a business perspective, if you see that your bank is essentially in this platform and they're not just offering their services, but they're offering also through technology that we've built, there is functionality which is even richer than the bank is actually offering you already, then that builds more credibility, because A, you as a business, you already know the bank, and B, you are getting the same services from that particular bank, but in richer functionality, which is more close to you as a business. That's what you really want, right? I give one example. So if we're talking about credit cards, for example, or debit cards, right? The ability that you as a business can create a card and maybe give a card to you, David, and you can only use it on certain merchants with a one click of a button. That level of flexibility, right? That is something which a business wants nowadays. I mean, especially with all the fraud that is happening, right? So that means that you're still getting the security, the peace of mind, but then you're also using Fyorin technology to create more flexibility into your business.
That was a good example, James. Thanks for sharing that. So what strategies have helped Fyorin? And this is for, our total viewership, not necessarily those that are interested directly in your capabilities. But what strategies have helped you acquire customers in, a very competitive space without traditional marketing?
Yes. I mean, first and foremost, let's take a little bit, who are we? Who is our audience, right? Who are our audience? So our audience, we are selling essentially to finance people. We're selling it to treasury managers, to CFOs, financial directors, etc. Now, by nature, these type of people, they tend to buy from software providers that they already know, or maybe they have been recommended. So one thing that we actually did is that, okay, so who is working already with these type of audience? So we look at, for example, resellers of ERP systems, resellers of any other services that essentially complement also our solution. So we use them, say okay, so if you were to have your clients, and these are the same clients that we actually wanted also to target, right? We've built up partnerships with these resellers, where essentially they were selling Fyorin on our behalf. Now, what's the benefit of that? The benefit is that first and foremost, from an acquisition cost in terms of customer, it's actually very low, right? But also as a customer or our end client, there is more trust, because if, let's say, Fyorin is being introduced not by Fyorin itself, like we're not picking up the phone and calling you, say, hey, David, you have this amazing product. Would you be interested? You probably say no. But if, David, your implementer of, let's say, ERP system calls you and say, hey, you know what? Last week, you told me about this problem. I think there's a company that really can solve it for you. Would you be open for a meeting? The chances are that you will say yes for that, right? So that means that we can create more also long-term partnerships, right? And also, again, it helps us also to scale very fast. I mean, today, through this model, we are operating across Europe, the US, Middle East, because essentially, it's, and we're again, our acquisition cost, once again, it's very, very low.
Great channel strategy. So how has the global push for automation reshape financial operations for businesses?
Yes, I mean, if you look at doing business, whether you're doing locally or internationally, it's becoming more and more expensive, right? So cost of living is actually going up. Finding in also people, especially in the finance, is also very, very challenging, right? And today, when we're speaking to finance people, they want to automate as much as possible the work that is very much repetitive. Let's say, for example, if you are chasing for money, there's a process where you can essentially automate it, right? And I'm not talking here about AI, but these are stuff that you can actually automate. Or maybe you're doing payments. You can automate that process. You can actually create more security also. So the push of, or the economic push where there is higher cost, higher operational cost, have essentially said like, okay, companies now are looking into ways of how can we improve our margins by improving our operational cost. So that push more into the automation side.
So what role, I have to ask about AI, but what role does AI play in Fyorin's platform to streamline treasury tasks?
Well, I hate to break it to you, but very little. And I tell you why. Because and this ties up to the previous question. So when we speak to finance people, there's still a lot of manual work, that is being done. And that manual work, you can't go and replace it automatically with AI, right? It's like, we don't know how to walk, and we're going to start running. So first we need to know how to learn how to walk. And to learn how to walk is that by implementing systems that will automate certain things. Then next level, maybe it will be AI, right? And besides that, there's also the element of trust. Let's not forget, when we're talking to finance people, to the finance department, this is the department that is policing or controlling the money of any business. Are we ready? If today we are actually doing everything manually, are we ready to let an agent, AI agent, doing this for us? Probably not. Probably want to first take baby steps, want to automate certain things, control it in a safe space, and then, maybe we'll do with AI. So that's why we AI is not something that today we are implementing, although we are implementing it at a back office perspective for us, let's say to automate transaction monitoring, etc. But as a product perspective, not really.
Understood. How is your company positioning itself amidst the geopolitical and market fragmentation, which is really top of the news these days?
Definitely. I think, so fragmentation means also, I see this as an opportunity, right? So it's an opportunity whereby, again, you have to be creative in terms of how can you lower your operational costs, right? Because the margins are getting tighter and tighter. So for us, is that ability where you can, as a product, you can focus on your core business and remove the complexity of dealing with different banks, dealing with different data, financial data, automation. That is something that, again, it's helping us to lower, once again, it's making a better use case, essentially, for CFOs to implement our solution.
Final question, your vision and goals for the future of Fyorin.
This is very interesting. As I said, we are a technology company. Our global network of financial institutions is growing. And where we want to be is that, we want to be similar to like the likes of, Visa and Mastercard, essentially, right? So it's a global network of financial institutions. We are building the same, but essentially our product can also be white labeled by banks to use with their community of businesses, right? So we're not competing with banks. We're actually a technology enabler for them to offer a fintech-like solution. Similar to what we actually done with the resellers, right? Where we're actually getting in more clients, but we can get more clients via banks. So it's a win-win. So this is our vision, and happy to say that we are on track in actually achieving that vision.
Good for you. I really appreciated your conversation today. I think our audience got some good value from it, and I look forward to welcoming you on future editions of Return on Insights podcast. Thanks, James.
Thank you, David. Pleasure to be here.
Be well.